and formally, will help. It's better to understand each other, to know each other, to make a personal rapport as well. So we'll use all these opportunities to further the objectives of SAARC.
Mr. President, will South Asia ever be a region without boundaries, and states in this region could fight the common enemies like poverty, diseases, and all those things?
Well, I don't know ultimately what the future holds, but we believe in the sovereignty of nations. We have a world system today which adheres in principle at least, if not in practice everywhere, to the Charter of the United Nations, which respects national boundaries. And human beings today are organized by and large in nation states. The countries of SAARC are also nation states, and all are also members of the United Nations. And they adhere to the Charter of the United Nations. So we hope that by adhering to the Charter of the United Nations and then working within the ambit of that, there is so much enormous scope for helping each other and for cooperating in poverty alleviation, in reducing tensions, in improving enormously trade and businesses, that the benefits that would accrue to all these people would be indeed enormous. We hope that we can move forward in that direction. We don't know whether national boundaries would ever go. In fact, they don't go. They should not go, given the philosophy of the nation states. But certainly barriers could reduce, certainly trade could improve, certainly as a result of that there could be more economic cooperation, there could be more transfer of technology, there could be greater cooperation between people, scientific knowledge, technological knowledge could be exchanged. A lot of benefits could accrue. And I think that if the SAARC countries were to bilaterally address some of their major contentious issues as well, then we could really have significant progress to the benefit of 1 billion people.
Of course, there are examples like Europe and East Asia. They approach certain problems jointly and commonly. That was
Yes, of course. European nations very strongly believe in their nation states, and yet they have easy movement between countries and so on. Yes, certainly when tensions go down, when there is greater interaction, all that can happen and is possible and should be done.
Also, shall we move to the Yes, that's what I was saying. Yes.
Which is the domestic politics.
Domestic politics. It all depends on how juicy you make it. When one says one thing, and it's made juicier still.
Verse 13 on your...
You have come under a lot of criticism from the opposition, which has tried to paint you in a very partisan light. Do you think that the charges that they level against you, which are of very nature, are fair?
No, I totally reject those charges. The charge that I am partisan is extremely unfair. The moment I became, I got elected as the President of Pakistan, I resigned from the only party that I ever belonged to, which was the Pakistan People's Party. I had spent a long time in that party, and I naturally valued that party. I valued my links with that party. It was a party that struggled against dictatorship, for democracy, for the people, and therefore I could never, in one sense, cut off my links altogether, but I formally cut my links, although I was not obliged to do so under the Constitution of Pakistan. And I did it mainly also as a very clear signal and symbolic gesture to the opposition and to everyone in Pakistan that the President of Pakistan would like to play a role, I as President of Pakistan would like to play a role for bridging the gulf between the opposition parties and the government, for reducing the high level of tension in our domestic politics, and for bringing about a consensus on national issues. The opposition, on the other hand, leveled charges against me, saying that despite my resignation, I was bipartisan in my attitude. And the major example that they quoted was the action against the Northwest Frontier Province government of Mr. Saber Shah, that is the Muslim League and ANP government. And I have explained this in other places also. The action in the case of the NWFP government was a constitutional action. There was no other way for me to do what I did. There was no other way but that. When a political party in power or a government, when they lose the majority in the assembly, there is no way the president can sustain that government in power. And I will never do that. Whichever party loses its majority, they cannot remain in government. The choices were between the dissolution of the provincial assembly and its suspension and asking them to have a vote of confidence or to elect their leadership and their government. No, I chose the latter. I chose suspension rather than dissolution. And there were sound reasons for that. An election, a general election had taken place just 3 or 4 months before that. How could we again have an election in the whole process? There was no need for it. Again, the result would have perhaps been similar. There was a narrow majority. Why Saber Shah lost that majority is for analysts and historians to analyze and write about. But the fact remains that the majority was lost. That government, when they came below 42 in numbers, they could not be retained in power. The opposition expected me to keep them in power. How could I? Then there were other charges against me, that I was partisan because I belonged to the People's Party at one time. Now that is unfair. When you are in the political life, you normally belong to a political party. And I had no regrets at having belonged to the Pakistan People's Party. But my very first act as president, that I went and sought out the leader of the opposition, should have also shown to them, besides my resigning, as to what lengths I was going to bridge the divide between the government and the opposition. I went around to each of the provinces, provincial headquarters, immediately after my election, within a week of that. And I gave dinners to thank all MNAs, MPAs and senators, not just those who voted for me, but even those who voted against me. I invited them to thank them that this process was over and it was now time to move ahead. In the case of the leader of the opposition, I invited him. In addition, I sent a respected journalist and mutual friend, Mr. Arshad Haqqani, to him with the request that in case he found it difficult to attend my dinner, which was for everyone, then I would be only too happy to go and visit him at his house. he spurned that. I gave that offer as President of Pakistan. But he could not muster the courage to do it. Now, that was again, that opportunity was wasted by them. I did not take umbrage at that. I continued to tell the people through newspaper columns, through questions of reporters, etc., that the doors of the presidency are open to all public representatives, all leaders, whether they are from the government or the opposition. And I would be only too happy to meet with people. I have also been saying that there is a national consensus, in my opinion, on all the major national issues. But unfortunately, the game of power politics does not allow that consensus to become manifest, and that it's important that it should be manifest. And I see my role as President of Pakistan to show that consensus. If there isn't, to discuss it with them. Not about who is going to be Prime Minister or who is going to be Minister or who is going to be in power or who is going to intrigue and how. I'm not in the business of intriguing against a sitting government or against an opposition group. That's not my function as President. For that, and that I am, by the grace of God, absolutely neutral. But it is certainly my wish as President and as a person, as Farooq Laghari, to see greater consensus and unanimity emerging on major national issues. Now, I am happy to say, and I've said it before and I'd like to say it again to you, I'm happy to say that there is national consensus on Pakistan's basic security concerns, on Pakistan's nuclear program, on the Kashmir issue, and on the fundamentals of Pakistan's economic policies. And this consensus is Pakistan's strongest asset. Unfortunately, political leaders, even some newspaper opinion makers, tend to show too dark a side of our predicament today. They are constantly telling the people that the situation in Pakistan is a hopeless one, that there is great despondency, that there is acute infighting. I say that there is another way of looking at things. Yes, everything is not milk and honey in our land. There are serious problems in Pakistan. There's the problem of poverty, there's the problem of inflation, there is the problem of social justice not being met. But there is a consensus on the major issues that affect Pakistan today. Why is this not being shown? Why is this not being talked about? Why is this not made manifest? I think it is the duty of all people who care for Pakistan to tell the nation, to tell the people that extreme polarization that has its origins in history. Nevertheless, on major issues there is a consensus. So this, I think, needs to be, this point needs to be dropped in again and again, so that this state of despondency should be removed. Yes, issues should be highlighted. If the government is not paying sufficient attention to the social action program, that should be highlighted. If the government is not competent, that should be highlighted. If the government is corrupt, that should be highlighted. There's no problem with that. By all means, the government and the opposition can trade charges. They can go to the assemblies, they can talk against each other. But where there is a consensus, that too should be highlighted. And this is what I told Nawab Nasrullah and the Prime Minister and the leaders of the opposition, that on Kashmir you have a consensus. There is a Kashmir committee. Get together on a round table and decide. Now, unfortunately, they could not get together on a round table, but they did get together on the basis of a resolution, which was unanimously passed by all the political parties on both sides of the divide. We hope that similarly we will be able to also get the leadership of both sides together, or of all sides together, on other issues of importance to Pakistan. And I'll try and work for that. I'm trying to work for that. I'm sorry I talked at such length, but your question on whether the opposition, whether I accept or reject the opposition's viewpoint on my partisanship, I think I have gone out of my way. In fact, even when the opposition leveled serious charges against me of questioning my integrity, I did not take pique at that. Although I was deeply hurt because my whole life bears testimony to a certain conduct by me, and I'm proud of that before God and before man. When I am unjustly charged for that and a whole propaganda blitz is let loose against me, I should feel bad and sad. I should even feel revengeful if I am a normal human being, but I'm not normal perhaps. I still do not bear any malice or grudge against anybody, even those who stooped low to charge me falsely. And even in those days and up to now, I never gave any statement that was either revengeful or had a vendetta in it. And I continue to say that I would be too happy to meet anyone and I'd welcome them with open arms. So I think it is unfair to say that I am partisan. I will do everything that is possible to uphold the Constitution and to provide the etiquette, the honor that is due to the government and to the opposition.
Mr. Laghari, you have succeeded a president who liked to throw his weight around and dictate his terms. How do you see your role as the head of state?
I would not like to comment on my predecessor. History will judge him and me and everyone else that goes and comes and goes, but I would like to say...
But there have been predecessors and predecessors.
But I would like to say that I have been a political activist. I have my views. My views are strongly held. Everyone knows it. The government knows it. The Prime Minister knows it. I believe in my views and I very strongly stick by my views. So, but I don't want to throw my weight around unnecessarily. If there's anything that I can do to improve the situation, to give advice, I would rather do it quietly first. I would rather do it without seeking undue publicity for myself. And if things still are not corrected, then I will do it in other ways. But I don't see the advantage of throwing my weight around unnecessarily. I'll do it within the Constitution, and in a politically decent manner, so that there is improvement in our working, in our system, in good governance, in forging national unity, because I think it's important for us to forge national unity. And this can really only be done on the basis of issues, because if you come to personalities, then the power game is a cruel game, and people take up hardline positions on personalities, on the desire to be in power, and so on and so forth. So it is better to bring about a consensus in the country on the basis of issues, on discussion of issues, on analysis of issues.
President, do you have any regrets having accepted this office, especially since it has meant sacrificing or leaving a political career that you built so painstakingly over such a long time?
Well, I think even the office of president is a political office. President is part of parliament, you know. People forget that parliament is composed of, number one, president, number two, National Assembly, number three, the Senate. It's a political office. It's not a non-political office. And there is nothing wrong in politics. I think politics is a very noble profession. By accepting to be nominated as president, to be elected as president, I certainly blocked my way to normal parliamentary politics. But this is a great honor to be the head of state of Pakistan. I think in this position I can play a very useful role. I can perhaps advance certain causes and certain ideals even in a more effective way than here. So there are no regrets. I think God has given me an opportunity and I'd like to play my role for the better. I hope and pray that I can.
Perhaps Dalit was speaking on the age side of your
You have a
life.
long way to go, and it does end your political career.
Who knows how long, who is going to live? I don't know. And who knows what is to become of the future. But I'm quite happy where I am.
Coming to our last question, sir. What is your vision of Pakistan for the next century?
Well, I think Pakistan, number one, by the grace of God, has come to stay as an important country in this region. I see Pakistan as playing a very vital role for peace in this region at the international level. Pakistan sits at the junction of important civilizations and important regions. We are astride the Middle East, the Gulf. We are also astride the Central Asian region. We have a border with a wholly different civilization, that is the Chinese civilization. And we are part of the South Asian region also. So we have a unique position, and I see Pakistan playing a major role for peace and stability in all these regions and in the area around us. I see a great deal of explosion of communication lines, of investment, of regional mega projects in this whole area, whether they be gas pipeline projects or mineral joint ventures or telecommunications ventures and so on, or connected to the field of energy. So this whole area is a promising new frontier for economic development. And just as the Pacific Rim has been developing in the last 15, 20 years and is expected to grow into the next 20, 25 years. So I think the next major economic activity is going to be in our region. And Pakistan is going to be one of the important players in that region, both strategically and even on the economic front. Within Pakistan, I have a vision of Pakistan where there is greater social equality and justice. We are still perhaps one of the worst countries on the social indicators. Our levels of education and literacy are amongst the worst in the world, and this is to the shame of all the governments that have come here. We have not made significant progress in that area. I think if the Pakistan government, the present leadership, and which includes the opposition as well, if they were to get together and make a struggle, do a jihad against illiteracy, then Pakistan can go places, can go very high, and we can achieve our objectives much better, whether they be on the economic front or on the strategic front. And with education, of course, also comes social development of our impoverished and discriminated against class of women, for instance, or the poor. After all, what is the biggest serious constraint on the development of women or the poorest sections of our society? It is lack of knowledge and education. And if we move fast on this front, then we can certainly help a great deal in improving the lot of the poorest sections of our society, who are also the least literate, and also women, who are again the least literate. So I see myself also playing that major role, which if you will have noticed, only in the last 1 year, I have, I think, given at least 30 or 40 speeches, attended functions for literacy, for improving the quality of education, the direction of education, to make it more vocational and technological, and also improving the university education. So in all these areas we need to do a lot. But I envision Pakistan as seriously mounting a campaign, a movement in all these areas, and then surmounting these problems and moving forward in that direction, which is also the direction of social justice, because they are all connected to whether the poorest sections of our society have the ability to earn or not. That comes with education, and meaningful education, not just the kind of education we've had. So I see Pakistan moving forward in all these areas.
Sir, it's not on the list of questions you asked me, so they were framed much earlier. Would you like to say something on the Prime Minister's recent visit to America, vis-a-vis the objectives that the government had?
Yes, I think I've said this before also in answer to a question. But we are satisfied with the visit of the Prime Minister to the United States. She projected Pakistan's point of view effectively. She made it very clear that Pakistan's position on these issues is a principled one. And the United States leadership, I must say to their credit, President Clinton himself, had the courage to admit before the whole world that the United States had been unfair to Pakistan by not giving us the equipment or the money. Also his commitment that he will work with Congress to overcome this injustice. I think that has been a very major factor, and the Prime Minister's advocacy of Pakistan's case has been an effective one. It's also, I think, important to understand this visit in the context of a renewed relationship and an acceptance of Pakistan as a major an important stabilizing factor in this region and in the 2 or 3 regions that I talked about. Pakistan's role as a progressive Islamic democratic country which has access to all Muslim countries, whether they are right-wing or left-wing, and Pakistan's position as a major player in the OIC. I think there is recognition in the West now that Pakistan has a major role to play as a country which is independent, as a country which upholds its principles, as a country where the people have given full backing to the government, where there's consensus on major issues. I think this visit has consolidated all these things, and it's been an important visit. I think the benefits that will accrue from this will be of a long-term nature, and whether we get the planes, or whether the equipment or the money or not, and when we get it is of course important for us, but the benefits and the interest that has been created in Pakistan within corporate America, plus these other factors that I said, are very tangible benefits.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Mr. President,